on this subject. Okay, let's move on to our presentation this morning. Jarah is here from UC Berkeley to tell us about SafeTrec.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Sheila, for inviting me here this morning to present Street Story, which is a tool provided by SafeTrec and funded by OTS. So now I'm going to share my screen. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. And I'll be going back and forth between this PowerPoint and the actual tool just to show you different features and how to submit an entry into Street Story. But first, I'll go ahead and give you a little background information. So what is Street Story? Street Story helps community groups and agencies collect and understand information that is important for transportation safety, but is difficult to gather and analyze. So it is an online platform. Sometimes we call it a community engagement tool or a crowdsourcing tool that allows community groups and agencies to collect local information about transportation collisions, near misses, hazards, as well as safe places to travel within the state of California. And so we know that cities and counties use or collect collision data to decide where to make improvements. However, that data may not show us where people are actually walking and biking. And it also doesn't relay local knowledge about where it's safe to go and where it's not safe to go, and what those hazards are. And so this tool is not to replace like crash data or anything, but to supplement it. And we know, like, you know, folks see what's in the police report, but that doesn't tell the full story. So that this is where Street Story comes in. And so when plans are developed, you know, agencies will try to get community input, but efforts may be limited. And where efforts are limited, input is limited. So this is a great tool for that. And again, like I said, it allows for feedback from community members that otherwise we wouldn't have access to. Organizations and agencies can then use the information collected as part of a community needs assessment, evaluations, or any other transportation safety planning effort. So this is what the tool looks like. To access the tool, you'll go to streetstory.berkeley.edu. The tool is available in both English and Spanish. And the information collected is free and publicly accessible. And we do have paper versions of the tool in English and Spanish, where I'll show you, which I will show you later on. Didn't realize it was the next slide. So actually here is an example of the paper versions. They're color coded by report type. Here's crash, near miss, hazard, safe place. And also we have demographic questions that are optional, and I'll show you that a little bit later as well. And if you're interested, if communities are interested in using the paper versions, you can reach out to us via email. We can send you the links to those, but we also have it in our starter guide, which is a resource that we share with communities, and I'll show you that later as well. So right now I'm going to go to the actual platform. Let's see here. So once you go to the website, this is the first pop-up box you'll see, and it'll ask which area would you like to give input in. Users can submit data for a city, a county, tribal, or an unincorporated area, excuse me. And also in this box, we have useful links, like if you just want to go straight to see the data, which I'll show you, a list of our resources, community stories, the custom boundary feature, which I'll talk about later, or you can switch to the English platform. So I'm going to select Tulare County. Let's see here. Hit next, and then it'll ask if you want to, which location type you would like to select. So you can either, users can submit a point, enter a point, or specific location, or street or line. Again, can switch to the Spanish version here, or just go straight to the data. So I'm gonna say select a point, and this is showing the county. The icons on the left-hand side will allow you to zoom in, zoom out, go back to the home page. If there's a specific address that a user wants to submit a report on, they can type it in there and go straight to the address. And so for this sake, we'll zoom in. And I just want to briefly show you how someone can submit a report. So it looks like I'm in Visalia. And I'm clicking on this intersection of this Maddox Way and Houston Street. Let's see. Try this. Was 1 and 2. Okay, there we go. And so then on the right-hand side, users are asked to submit or answer a set of questions. So was it a crash that you experienced or witnessed, near miss, hazard, or safe place? So I'm going to select hazard. And each report type has its own set of questions. Then I'll select next. And what happened at this specific location? I feel unsafe when I'm here. When I'm walking, biking, they can select however many answer choices here. I feel unsafe here at day or night. Next, what makes this place feel unsafe? Is it poor sidewalks or bike lanes, poor lighting, signs? And again, they can select however many answer choices here. And one thing that we stress the most about this tool is the narrative piece. So here, number 4, it says, tell us more. Without providing any identifying information, let us know exactly what happened. And so users are able to go into detail about their experience or what they witnessed, either crash, the near miss, hazard, or safe place. And once they complete this portion, we select next. What would make this place feel safer? And this question was added about a year or so ago. We call it the improvement suggestion question. So what are users feeling like in this particular place, you know, what would make this place feel safer? So would it be slower speeds or more enforcement of unsafe behavior, education for road users? And again, they can select all that apply. And then again, we have another comment box here where folks can go into detail about, you know, what'll make this place safer. And we've seen a lot of feedback here, generally where folks tell exactly, you know, what they think will make a place feel safer, like a certain type of bike lane or a certain type of lighting, you know, that'll make this place feel safer. So once they fill out the question, you hit submit, and then you'll see this point on the map. And then next it goes into the demographic questions, again, which are optional. And I'll talk about that a little later as well. And then once they complete that portion, if they choose to do so, you'll hit submit again, and then the entry is saved. So now I will go back, or first, let me show you what the reports page looks like. So this is the reports page for the county. You're able to narrow down reports by date, include reports outside of your area, and just for the sake of the meeting, let's see, there are a total of 10 reports so far within the county. You see, we have a few crashes and near misses that have been reported, a few hazard locations and safe places that have been reported. So if you click on the dot, You can see the report type, the mode that they chose, and then you'll be able to see the narrative. So this narrative says the teen died due to collision with speeding driver. And so that's an example of what a narrative looks like. So this is the report page for all of the reports that have been submitted within the state of California. So as of today, we have a total of about 56, almost 5,700 reports, the most being hazardous reports submitted. So that's about 57, almost 60%. And again, you're able to narrow down reports by date. Say you're doing a project and you want to see reports submitted in 2020 or between 2020 and 2021, you're able to do that here. You're able to zoom in, zoom out. If you want to see a specific location or try to get to a certain report. And all of the information that is collected is broken down on this page. So the first thing you see here, which I've been showing you, are the report maps that are color-coded by report type. Again, the crash and near miss on the left-hand side, hazard and safe place on the right-hand side. And then the information is broken down into a pie chart, a table here. You can see the travel mode summary, percentages, and the counts of people who submitted a report who were biking, walking, etc. Reports by mode, how many folks who said they were biking submitted a crash report, how many folks that were biking submitted a near miss report, and so on. Reports by cause. So most people say people don't yield, and that's a count of almost 1,000. So everything, any information you're looking for is broken down on this page. And then we have reports by improvement suggestions, which was the last question before the demographic portion that I showed you. So more folks are saying that, we need better, more bike lanes. And that's general conscious throughout the state. Folks are saying, we need better, more bike lanes, and we need slower speeds, and we need more enforcement of unsafe behavior. And then the last thing you'll see on this page is the demographic information. Again, that portion is optional, and it's more useful for transportation planners and engineers. And you won't be able to see this information on a report page unless 50 or more reports have been submitted in a specified area. So for example, with Tulare, we only saw there have been 10, I can just go back to it, only 10 reports submitted. So you wouldn't see demographic information on this page. But if someone were to reach out and say, hey, can you provide me with the demographic information for Tulare? We could do it, the street store team could send it to you on the back end. You just won't be able to see it on this page unless 50 or more reports have been submitted. So I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint now. Let's see. Show that. So some of the features that we have, one being micro-mobility. We have the questions around micro-mobility, the infrastructure improvement, which I showed you the last question, and then the custom boundary feature, which I'll talk about in a little bit, and the income question that we added to the demographic section. So this is the custom boundary feature. Say that there's a specific project, and maybe in Visalia, you want to work around a high school or elementary school or middle school, and you want to collect input either from the students or both the students and their parents, and you only want to do it for that community. This feature allows you to create a boundary without users having to just, type street story and, type in the city and look for the area. The planner can create their own boundary and then share this boundary with the community. So once they click the link, they'll go straight to the boundary and be able to report within that boundary. So you'll select the county or city or enter the specific address, draw the boundary using the icons on the right-hand side. And then you can name your project. If you're wanting to get feedback from the community by a certain date, you're able to enter a date. And then for the person who created the boundary, if you need to modify the boundary, you'll enter your email address, and then you'll click create, and you'll be given a QR code, and you can generate a PDF. So you can either share this code with the community members, or share the PDF, and this is what it'll look like. So you'll share this with community members, and they'll know that they're receiving this invitation because either you're applying for funds for a project or working on another project, and they would require input, and they're asking for input. So like I said, they can either go straight to the link where the boundary has been created, or scan this QR code and go straight to the boundary to submit a report. So before I go into that, jumping back and forth, I know, I wanted to let it be known that we're working on a special feature for a custom boundary that should be available within the next month. And it was an idea given to us by a regional planner from Shasta County for folks who already have projects in plan. And for example, they're working on a 16-mile corridor project, and they have already created their boundary. So we're gonna have a feature here where it says, you can either draw your own boundary or upload your shapefile. And so if you already have a boundary you're creating for a project, you don't want to go through our site to create the boundary, we have a feature where folks can upload their own shapefile, and then from there, provide a name for the project, due date, etc., and then share that version of the boundary with community members. We're really excited about it. I think it'll be a cool feature. And I just wanted to share that with you all. Okay. That's the last time I'll be switching back, I promise. And so now, how can you introduce Street Story into the community? One way you can do it is in the field. And let me know if I'm going overtime or anything, and I can wrap it up. But one way you can do it is plan a short walk with a group of 5 or 15 members. You can do this. One way we did it in the height of the pandemic was virtually using Google Maps. We did a walk assessment with community members or stakeholders, where we just pull up Google Maps. They give us a location, an intersection, or whatever, and we virtually do a walkthrough with folks, and just take notes on locations where people feel safe, unsafe, or have experienced a crash or near miss in the past. And then you can convene at a location where group members can spend time recording information onto the site. And you can either do that via the site or the paper versions. And one thing I forgot to mention earlier about the paper versions, is that even if community members or leaders decide to use the paper versions to collect the information, that information still has to be uploaded onto the actual website to go in the database. And either the planner can choose to do that after collecting the information, or it can be forwarded to us and we can upload it into the site. So like I said, one way you can do this is a walk audit, walk assessment. You can do it virtually. And typically what you'll need for something like this is paper, to collect notes, or to take notes. And then you'll return to the meeting location and spend about 15 to 20 minutes to record information. Like I said, using the paper versions or the online version, and then spend 10 minutes reviewing the data that was inputted. So for this, you'll need location with reliable Wi-Fi access, computers or tablets, and note-taking supplies. And something like this can typically take about 45 minutes to an hour. Another way you can introduce Street Story is at a community meeting. Something similar to what we're doing now, where you're having a meeting, or active transportation committee meeting or community meeting with actual residents. You can convene a location where attendees can spend time recording their experiences. So if you wanted to introduce it to community leaders. This is a way to do so, and then they can train residents. Or if you want to, have a community meeting with the residents themselves, this is a perfect opportunity to introduce the tool. Where, and you see here, this is pre-pandemic, where folks coming in person in this community chose to use the paper versions for this meeting, and then they were collected at the end of the meeting, and that data was inputted on the online platform. So typically what you'll need for something like this is to set a meeting and introduce each input category. So like I said, you see here the paper versions are color coded by report type. So, you can ask community members, planners, leaders, which type of report are you wanting to submit, and then you can pass out that report type. And then you'll typically spend about 20 to 30 minutes allowing attendees to record the experiences, have a conversation about it, and then spend 10 minutes reviewing the data that was inputted. Again, for something like this, you will need to have a location with reliable Wi-Fi access, computers or tablets, and note-taking supplies. And again, this will probably typically take between 45 minutes to an hour as well. And lastly, you can introduce Street Story at a community event. So here we see pictured two of our SafeTrec members who set up a table at an open street event. You can do this at an existing community event, including farmers market, open street events, health fairs. And you see at the table they have the report types, and also we have flyers available that can be downloaded, and I'll show you that a little bit later as well. And so you can have folks to stop by the table, ask them if they're familiar with Street Story. If not, you can explain to them quickly what it is, and then pass out those papers, giving them instructions of how to submit a report. And if they don't have time right then, you can give them a flyer with the QR code, and they can go home, scan that QR code and submit a report. So typically what you would need for something like this, choose events where people who may not attend a transportation safety specific workshop may be likely to attend. You can coordinate with group event organizers to set up a table at the event. And then you can ask event attendees to provide feedback, like I said, at the event, or distribute the flyers with the Street Story information. Street Story flyers, what you'll need for something like this are the Street Story flyers, paper versions, and a tablet, and note-taking supplies. And you can, introduce this to attendees or participants at the event. And it'll take typically 5 to 10 minutes. One thing I didn't know, and we get this question a lot, do we have a mobile application? We do not, and we don't have the capacity to monitor the online database and work on a mobile application. However, users can pull up the Street Story platform on a mobile device. You can pull it up as, the Street Story is there. You can pull it up, submit a report, very mobile friendly. We just don't have an app that you can download. So for resources, we have a starter guide. We're working on the Spanish version now. We have a starter guide in English, just basically going over everything I just did, letting you know how to submit a report, why something like this is important, ways to introduce it into a community, and a list of resources. At the end of the starter guide, there's the links to the paper versions, which I showed you. So it's very accessible. And then we have other resources like the Street Story flyer templates, which I just mentioned briefly. This is an example of a flyer that you can have at that table to pass out. with the QR code. So if folks don't have time then to, fill out a report, they can just take this flyer, go home with the flyer, scan the QR code on their phone or a tablet, and are able to submit a report that way. Additional resources we do have a tutorial video on YouTube in both English and Spanish, a step-by-step tutorial of how to submit a report. We also have examples of how communities are using the tool, specifically Humboldt County, Muscoy community, and Bakersfield, a group in Bakersfield who consistently uses the tool. And so there are examples there. And then we have other links here, another link here of special features, just talking about like the micromobility, improvement suggestions, and the custom boundary feature. So there are a lot of resources that you can find on the site, and I'm just going to go to it real quickly. So if you go to safetrec.berkeley.edu, go to tools, street story, you'll get a description about what street story is, a couple of images from past events, some that you saw in the presentation. And then also we have fact sheets that you're able to download in English and Spanish for folks who just want to know, quick info about street story. These are good resources. And then street story work, which is similar to the video but kind of highlights other communities. So like Humboldt County, and also how data was collected for Caltrans District 4 pedestrian plan, what that looks like. I mentioned Muscoy, and then we also have the tribal street story tool as well. So if you want to know more information about how it's being used in the field, you can look here. And then for technical assistance guides and resources, again, you can look here for the tutorial videos in English and Spanish. If you want to download the starter guide, again, we're working to finalize the Spanish version next month. And then we also have the custom boundary instructions as well in English and Spanish. And let me also mention before I forget, we are hosting our very first webinar in Spanish on April 19th. I will share that information with Sheila today, so she can share it with you all. We'll have flyers for that as well. Because we do have the tool available in English and Spanish, we want to make sure we're doing, outreach in those communities and get folks to use the tool. So we're the webinar will be facilitated completely in Spanish, but we will have translation in English. So if you want to join us for that, you're able to do that. And like I said, I'll share that information with Sheila later today. And you typically here we'll have upcoming events and recordings of past webinars. So if you want to take a look at past webinars, you can do that here. And then in a week or so, you should see information about the webinar I just mentioned. Excuse me. We also have FAQs and research and publications about crowdsourcing data and community engagement and street story. So thank you so much for your time and attention. I hope I didn't go over time. Also, it's important to note that we do offer in-person trainings, and we do virtual trainings. So if you're interested, if you need one-on-one assistance, feel free to email me at streetstory@berkeley.edu or directly at jcrowner@berkeley.edu. If you think this is something you want to introduce to the residents within your community, we'll be happy to facilitate a training with them or train the trainers, who will be introducing it to the residents. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Yeah, hi, Jarah. I have a few questions. That was a great presentation, by the way. Thank you so much for that. That was much appreciated. I have a question on something you touched on briefly about public agencies using this tool as the kind of report a hazard. Is that like a situation where agencies on their website can have like a report a hazard, link, and it will link directly to your website, maybe on the zoomed in area of our county? And then is there a way to alert the agency when a report is posted?
No to that last question, but we have had examples of like Santa Cruz County, Humboldt County, who have embedded the tool onto their actual government website. And so when folks go straight to their website, they're able to submit a report there. They won't be notified when a report is submitted, but we will monitor for the planners to let them know if information has been collected, and they may have like a specified date they're wanting to collect the information, so we're able to monitor that, pull the information, pull the data, clean the data, and then give it to them after the campaign or whatever project they're hoping to accomplish.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Just a quick question. Thank you, by the way, for the presentation. This is Edgar with Caltrans. I was just wondering, the questionnaires, the paper format, is it the same as what would be online?
Yes, exactly the
Same
same.
question? Okay. Just curious. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I don't have a question, but it seems like an excellent tool, especially gathering some of that information that some of these entities could use for ATP grants and things like that. Seems like an excellent tool to use for that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I also wanted to mention, we're working on another feature. I don't know when we'll have it up on the site, but we've been asked if we can show street store data next to like Switter's ped and bike counts for folks who may be, putting together plans for funding, just to see and, create that full picture. So I'll let you all know, I'll let Sheila know once we have that feature together, but it's something that folks have been asking for, to see like a, side by side view of like crash data, but specifically ped and bike, and then the street store data that we have in our system.
A quick question. Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just curious if you can upload, or if there are talks about perhaps uploading videos. I think there's a for-profit group, I think Cyclico or something, where you can, it's like a dash cam. I believe it's maybe a few $100s, I'm not sure, but a lot of cyclists are able to ride with the camera on their helmet and then show like near misses, and there's a lot of near misses. There's another site. The reason I invited you first, that this is a government site, it's free, and I love the fact that it's free. But I'm just curious if there was any discussions about potentially sharing videos, and if that would, I don't know.
Yes, we've actually been talking about that recently, because we're, when working with communities, we try to stress the importance of collecting stories, be a street story or, just talking about how we share stories or collect stories through social media, and TikTok or Instagram or Twitter, they're all like stories. And another, which you all may be familiar with, two other platforms, Photo Voice and Video Voice. And they are a way to collect stories. So we're working with Castro Valley to use Video Voice. So the thing with us adding that features that we don't have there's cause for, I guess, privacy concerns with adding videos. And then, when we ask for the narratives, we have to clean them to make sure, there isn't any identifying information. So it gets tricky with videos because we don't know what people will capture. And then if they upload a video and we see, license plates or anything, then we'll have to remove it. And then, it's kind of like the user wasted time uploading the video. It's a lot of moving parts. And I think we just don't have the capacity right now to figure out how it could work with our platform. So we do suggest something like video voice. So yeah, that's where we are with that.
That's super helpful. Yeah.
Just another quick question in regards to the data. I was kind of looking at the website, so it looks like the only downloadable format right now would be a CSV file.
Yes, you can.
that-
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, you can download it. It's like a Microsoft Excel sheet and look at the data that way. Also need to mention that we have to, I keep saying clean, because that's the word we use. We have to clean the report. So when someone submit a report, you'll be able to see the point on the map, but you may not be able to see the narrative right away until we've had time to review those narratives. As you can imagine, some folks leave very nasty things. And so we have to make sure that it's respectful, their names or badge numbers aren't left there. So if you click on a dot on the map or you download the information into the Excel sheet and don't see a narrative, is not that it's not there per se, but maybe we haven't reviewed it yet. But typically I clean the narratives once a month. So if there's a narrative you're looking for, you don't see it, with a report and say, hey, I know someone submitted a report and they, told me they added a narrative. I don't see it here. You can email us and let us know, and we can look on our end to make sure it's been reviewed for public review.
Sorry, one quick question. Can you put the narrative in Spanish? I think you said there's a Spanish version, right? So
yes. Yes.
Okay.
Narratives can be entered in Spanish, but we're finding too, which we're trying to find a way around as well, is that Spanish users are selecting the report type in Spanish and selecting, answer choices for some of the questions in Spanish, but when they get to the narrative, they may write it in English. So it depends on the user, but yes, they're able to write it in Spanish. Thank you so much for your time. If you have any more questions, please reach out. We're here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good rest of your day.
You too.
Bye-bye.